Ghostbusters 2016 is one of the most controversial films in cinema history, and the controversy just won't stop.
The following is a World-Class Bullshitters exclusive.
Ghostbusters is one of the most beloved films of all time. You know the story, so I'll spare you a recap. After its release in 1984, Ghostbusters would spawn an incredibly beloved and successful franchise. After 2 films, 2 cartoons, a successful toy line, and many video games, Ghostbusters would remain dormant for many years. But the fans were always hungry for more. For years, fans would ask for a 3rd film, and in 2016 they'd get one. It just wasn't the film they would want, or anyone would want. But before we talk about that unwanted film, today's video is brought to you by me, Jeff Hicks, and my graphic novel Stealing Solo. Stealing Solo asks the greatest what-if question of all time. What if a group of disgruntled Star Wars fans kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in their basement? That, and a whole lot more, is answered in Stealing Solo, a Captain's Parody. Stealing Solo has been called Laugh Out Loud Funny and the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs, and it's available now for a limited time only. Go to StealingSolo.com, which is powered by Shopify, so you get the reward-winning safety and security, and get yourselves a copy today. Once we sell through this limited backstock, I'm going back to the drawing board to bring you the sequel, which parodies Luke Skywalker's fall from grace, and finally the closing chapter, which I can't wait to get to, Frankenfisher, the Bride of Solo. And yes, it's exactly what you think it is. So folks, the only way to get that is go to StealingSolo.com right now, get yourselves a copy, and enjoy the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs. The 2016 all-female remake of the 1984 classic was a failure on all fronts. It split a fan base, flopped in theaters, and almost killed a beloved 80s franchise. At the center of it was politics, greed, deceit, and a douchey director. But now one of the actors is opening up on just how bad of an experience it was. Since its inception, Ghostbusters 2016 was a bad idea. Gender-swapped remakes of any film are a bad idea, but Ghostbusters took the cake. From the outset, fans were not having it. The initial trailer became one of the most disliked videos on YouTube. At one point, there were over 600,000 dislikes to 200,000 likes. The studio tried to play into this, but it would soon get out of hand as the creators of this film would lash out at fans, creating a catastrophe unlike anything seen before. Actor Melissa McCarthy and director Paul Feig would be the most vocal. McCarthy would have many excuses for the film, but ultimately she said, "There's no end to the stories we can tell, there's so many reboots and relaunches and different interpretations, to say any of them are wrong, I just don't get it. I don't get the fight to see who can be the most negative and the most hate-filled. Everybody should be able to tell the story they want to tell. If you don't want to see it, you don't have to see it." Fans did not see that film. The film was considered a financial flop and nearly killed the Ghostbusters franchise. While everyone involved received heat from this film, it would be actress Leslie Jones who received the worst of it. In September 2023, Jones released her autobiography, and this is what she had to say on her experiences with Ghostbusters 2016. Ghostbusters came out on July 11th, 2016, but before it had even hit movie theaters, it had been the subject of intense online abuse, and no surprise, there I was, the one who got the most of the hate. For a start, sad keyboard warriors living in their mother's basement hated the fact that this hallowed work of perfect art now featured women in the lead roles. Worst of all, of course, was that one of the lead characters was a black woman. For some men, that was the final straw. YouTuber side note, what the hell is Leslie Jones talking about? Leslie, give us a minute to feel bad for you. This is how you're starting out your book? Men hate women in leads and one of them's black? I guess you forgot to note that one of the Ghostbusters, Winston, was black, and a lot of people liked Winston. But anyway, let's keep going on. It wasn't just racism and misogyny either. A lot of it had to do with the fact that I was playing an MTA worker as though that was something I should be ashamed of. I don't even know why anyone would be mad she's an MTA worker. Let's just move on further along into the good stuff. 8 days after the movie premiered, I took my Twitter account down so we could work out who was trying to hack me. There had been multiple attempts to hack me by this point, and there had been so much racist abuse that I had no choice. I wrote, "I leave Twitter tonight with tears and a very sad heart. All this cause I did a movie. You can hate that movie, but the shit I got today, wrong." Earlier that same evening, I got a tweet from Jack Dorsey, the then CEO of Twitter, telling me to DM him. He was aware that I was being brutally attacked with racial slurs and worse, and started putting people on my account. This was basically the start of Twitter taking this shit more seriously. Jack put people on my account to monitor it because someone was always trying to hack me. It was a daily occurrence, but with Musk, who knows? Either way, I have my own security on that account now. What does Elon Musk have to do with any of this? Continuing on. The weakness of motherfuckers amazes me. I cried not because I was being bullied, but because this is our world and because I can't believe anyone would do that shit to someone. Anyone for working. This is awful. I'm in a movie. Death threats for something as small as that? The world was not as rosy as I'd hoped it would be, but none of that shit was about me. And it wasn't just racist shit either. When I started doing this movie, this is when I really started seeing not only racism, but classism. Oh god. Even the director of Ghostbusters Afterlife, Jason Reitman, who is the son of the original director, Ivan, said something unforgivable when discussing the new film that came out in 2021. On Bill Burr's podcast, he said this about our version of Ghostbusters. We are in every way trying to go back to the original technique and hand the movie back to fans. He did try to walk it back, but the damage was done. Bringing up the idea of giving the movie back to fans was a pretty clear shout out to all those losers who went after us for making an all-female film. Leslie Jones, it's because the movie was unnecessary. She continues on to say, it was made clear to me at times during the process that I was lucky to even be on the movie, but honestly I was thinking, I don't have to be in this motherfucker, especially as I got paid way less than Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig. No knock on them, but my first offer to do this movie was $67,000. I had to fight to get more in the end. I got $150K. But the message was clear. This is gonna blow you up after this. You'll be made for life. All that kind of shit. As though I hadn't had a decade of a successful career already. And in the end, all it made for me was heartache and one big-ass controversy. YouTuber side note, Leslie Jones got paid 1% of what Melissa McCarthy made. She's not mad about that. She's mad about everything else, but only 1%. That's something I'd have an issue with over whatever anyone else said, but that's just me. Closing out, she says, I think that's why one of the worst things about this movie was that it should have been a great film. The crew deserved for y'all to see the movie they actually made, but a lot of stuff got cut for cost. What no one realizes to this day is that me and Kate had some great moments that you didn't get to see. There were moments that Melissa and Kristen got cut too, that I thought were important to explaining how their friendship came to be in this movie. If they had released this movie as we shot it, I swear this thing would have been different. I disagree, Leslie. Paul Feig was awesome during the shooting. We were doing improv all over the place, and there was even a dance scene that was dope. Michael Williams, God rest his soul, choreographed a scene where Chris Hemsworth was possessed and took over a whole army. It was like a really funny, weird version of Thriller. Chris was standing on top of the movie theater dancing, while Michael Williams was in front of all the FBI agents and soldiers on the ground, just killing it. It was just the best thing. The day of that taping, we were so excited because we figured that's when people saw this, that they were really going to lose it. Nope, it got cut. The reason given was that the special effects needed were too expensive or some bullshit. No, Leslie, budgets are a real issue in movies. But if this film can't afford special effects, then what the fuck are we doing making a Ghostbusters movie in the first place? Then there was a fight scene that I shot that also got cut. When they later announced the Jason Reitman version of Afterlife would completely ignore the fact that there had been an all-female version, and all of that giving it back to the fan shit, I could not stay quiet anymore. But maybe some good can come out of all of this after all. By the end of that shoot, I knew much more than I did when I started. By the end, I was thinking, this shit will never happen again. I know I'm not a big star, but after this motherfucker, after figuring this out, I'm about to release the Kraken. And why would the world be against a female Ghostbusters? It's iconic. What does that say about everyone? I think if we made it now, things might be different. Who knows? Oh no, I forgot about the reaction to the Black Mermaid. Those were the wise words of Leslie Jones. As I said a moment ago, the hatred that she faced on Twitter was not cool. The doxing, the harassment, the threats, the sexual conduct, that's not cool. But Leslie Jones is also very ignorant to the fact of why people don't like this movie. Let me rephrase that. Leslie Jones is avoiding the main reason people don't like this movie. It's not because of women, it's because it's pointless. And every time somebody goes, I don't like this thing, and they make it political to try to guilt an audience into seeing a movie, it backfires. So that's what actually happened. And I wish Leslie Jones and crew would understand that. So after all of these years, the people involved in this film ignore that problem. They made a movie no one wants, and all the complaining, whining, bitching, and moaning isn't going to change that. As I said a moment ago, the stuff Leslie Jones went through on Twitter was far too much. No one deserves that. Of course, Ghostbusters is a movie, but it's an incredibly important movie. It's sacred to millions of people, and those people do not support the 2016 film for many reasons. Besides the obvious, the film looked bad, and all the CGI in the world couldn't make that pig attractive enough to kiss it. Antagonizing a fan base never works. Sony should have curtailed the actors from saying what they did, but that was 2016, and politically, it was a much different time. If audiences hated female-led films, explain Barbie. Ghostbusters was just 7 years ago. The Barbie movie had a lot of crossover with that audience. Why didn't the women who made Barbie a big hit come out to see Ghostbusters 2016? Because it was a bad idea in the first place. The success of the Barbie film shows that some films will appeal to women more than men and vice versa. Making Ghostbusters for women didn't work. If women were hungry for the film, they'd have gone out to see it for themselves, but they were interested in other things. What Sony did was terrible, but what they did to fix the film was commendable. Leslie Jones may be upset that Afterlife ignores the 2016 film, but it had to. Ghostbusters is nearly a 40-year-old franchise, and it stayed relevant for many years. The 2016 film killed the interest in the franchise. The once reliable performer saw a steep decline. That's the sole reason Ghostbusters Afterlife ignores Ghostbusters 2016, besides the fact that that film was terrible. It was smart to ignore that hated film and just move on. Afterlife proved that Ghostbusters was still valuable, it just needed to cut out the cancer. Ghostbusters 2016 will always be remembered as a terrible idea. It was a greedy film that caused a lot of problems, but the actors involved have all rebounded. It's not a film that ruined anyone's lives or careers. All of the lead actors would go on to star in more films, Leslie Jones as well, and the director would find more work. No matter how they try to spin it, Ghostbusters 2016 was the worst idea in the history of cinema. So folks, what do you think about this? What do you think about Leslie Jones' comments? What do you think about what she went through? And what do you think about Ghostbusters 2016? Tell me down in the comments below. You can go back and listen to our videos from 2016 when we were talking about Ghostbusters and how dissatisfied we were with the remake, so go to our archives and check that out. But again, I don't want to keep reiterating this point, but I do feel bad for the lady that people on Twitter harassed her and said all this repugnant shit. That's not cool. You know, having a differing opinion is not repugnant. Saying this movie sucks, saying this movie shouldn't exist, that's fine. That's in the rights of the audience. You can't take away their voice. But calling her certain things or sending her, pictures of dudes rubbing one out, that's way too much and way too weird, and I'm not all about that. I'm also not about Paul Feig and Melissa McCarthy attacking fans. Oh, it's just insecure men. And I'm also not cool with Leslie Jones trying to pull the whole card of, well, these are just basement dwellers and keyboard warriors. Lady, like I said a moment ago, Barbie made $1 billion plus. Women will go see movies they want to see. It's not like they're not allowed to. They have money, cars, and everything else that they want. So, if a woman wanted to see Ghostbusters 2016, she could have. If more women wanted to make Ghostbusters a big hit, they would have. But nobody gave a fuck about it because it was a bad idea. If you want to break it down in men versus women, Ghostbusters is a dude franchise and you know it. Guys dress up as Ghostbusters all the time, but Ghostbusters does have female appeal. Women dress up as Ghostbusters, they make female Ghostbusters costumes. Janine became a Ghostbuster, there are female Ghostbusters in other cartoons. Let's stop acting like men hate women Ghostbusters. And the new film, Afterlife, which was a big hit, had 2 female Ghostbusters? Phoebe and the other one, maybe? Or was she the girlfriend? I don't know. I haven't seen that movie since it hit theaters. But I do own it in the box set. What I don't own is Ghostbusters 2016 because it was not released in that box set. Sony hated the film so much, they understood that fans hated the film so much, so instead of trying to force it down fans' throats, they decided, hey, we're going to just move away from this one and never go back to it again. And I commend Sony for doing the smartest thing they've done. Maybe in the history of their company, maybe since the PlayStation 2, but other than that, I can't think of another positive thing they've done with this film. So folks, thank you for watching. Before you go though, if you like Ghostbusters and you're passionate about making fun of pop culture, well get ready for Wokebusters, my new parody. It's on the way. I've been working on it for quite some time now, so if you guys want to get a copy, locked in and guaranteed, go to WokebustersComic.com right now, go to the right-hand side and click Back This Perk. It's over on Indiegogo, and you can see a few pages, but if you go to our Twitter or use the hashtag Wokebusters, you can find it all throughout social media. I've been giving you updates all the time. Wokebusters is an epic graphic novel. It's comedy, it's horror, it's poignant for today's world, and it's almost 100 pages long. Quite honestly, a little over 100 pages long. It's got big giant monster fights, great comedy, and characters you're going to all love and relate to. And there's even a cover that pokes fun at Ghostbusters 2016. You can see the Wokebusters rising from the rubble of that Chinese restaurant they operated out of. So folks, if you want to poke fun at everything in society, check out Wokebusters. It's another great what-if story from Jeff Hicks. What if all the outrage in the world turned people into literal monsters? Well, 4 men are tasked to stop those monsters and save society from itself in Wokebusters. That comic will be available early next year, so be on the lookout from that. And if you need something right now, because you know you do, go to StealingSolo.com, get yourself a copy of that graphic novel, and that can be shipped out by the weekend. So folks, thank you for watching. Be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other. Thanks for watching today's video. Yes, it's over, but don't cry because there's more, a lot more from World Class Bullshitters. And there's only one way to get it. Hit that subscribe button below. When you do that, you'll get notifications and updates from World Class Bullshitters every time we go live. Basically, you won't miss anything. And if there's one thing I hate, it's FOMO. But the thing most people hate more than FOMO is fear of missing out on World Class Bullshitters, because there's just some things you can't undo. So folks, do yourselves a favor and never miss anything from World Class Bullshitters. One last thing before you go, hit the thumbs up button. Not for our egos, no, they're big enough as this, but it does help us fight the algorithm here, and well, it's man versus machine, and that's the real fight. But if that's not your battle, that's okay. There's one last way you can help WCBS, and that's going over to shopwcbs.com, picking up a t-shirt, a beer glass, a sweatshirt, a poster, all sorts of ways to back WCBS. The difference between us and other YouTube channels is I'm the artist that makes all this stuff, so if you enjoy art beyond t-shirts, you can even read our comic books. We got it all. We're called the epitome of pop culture for a reason, and no, again, it's not for our egos. So folks, make sure you're involved with every aspect of World Class Bullshitters, not just for us, but do it for yourself. We're making the change in entertainment everybody out there wants to see. And a special thank you goes out to all of our wonderful patrons who make this content possible. Go to patreon.com/worldclassbs to get involved and help out the channel.